Okay, this is a running breakdown for Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is arguably one of the best running backs in the league and could be possibly league MVP this year. He does a lot of things for his team, run, catch, block. But one thing that's impressive is his ability to break tackles and reach top speeds, right? So for a big running back like himself, it's very impressive to do that because a lot of times we see football players are very quad dominant, and once they get to that second level, 9 times out of 10, they'll get caught. Case in point with like DK Metcalf and Buda Baker. But Derrick Henry typically tends to outrun the defenders, all right? So we're going to break down this, and we're looking to a 94-yard run that he had last year against the Texans. So we're going to play the film and then go from there. Like I said, makes one man miss, and then he's gone. All right, cool. So we're going to bring this back. We'll start off right here, right? So starting off right here, before we actually get into the running aspect of it, right? One thing that's very key and is needed for every athlete is hip mobility, right? Hips need to be strong, mobile, flexible, right? So right here, he's not able to do this unless his hips are mobile, right? So that helps with change of direction, that helps with knee drive, everything. Your hips are very key for athletic performance, especially if any athlete that plays change of direction, hip mobility is needed, right? So before we get into that, that's what we want to announce, right? So right here, when he makes that cut, being able to sidestep and then immediately get into his run, right? So starting right here, or break it down, right? So from right here, he's now onto the second level, right? What I like starting off is as he starts, he's already up tall, but he drops down to start another acceleration, right? So he's from here, once he breaks that tackle, changes directions, he's going to accelerate. So he really drastically changes speeds, all right? So right here, as we watch, all right, what I like is his body angle match his shin angle, so he's more like so. So that matches, right? He's great push off. So that means he's moving forward, right? Even though he's up tall, right? Most of the time, usually when we see these breakdowns, right, we have someone starting off, we see their acceleration, but rarely do we see them accelerate from an up tall position, right? So he starts with acceleration. His shin angle, forward shin angle, matches his torso angle. That means he's projecting forward, moving forward, great horizontal projection, all right? Even though he's going to start entering more vertical aspect of his run, all right? So as we go, he's still moving, right? What I like right here, what Derrick Henry does a lot is you could see how his shoulder pads are bouncing up and down. So he's getting great arm drive. Even though he has football in his hand, he's getting great arm drive, and that movement starts from the shoulders, right? So just watch his shoulders as he runs. Great bouncing up and down. He's swinging the arms, driving them back, not keeping the arms tight. He's opening big, long arm drives, right? So he's entering his top end, right? So from here, right, what I like, what Derrick Henry does better than pretty much a lot of running backs in the league is he runs up tall, right? So for someone at his height and his size, it looks very weird when he runs up tall because it seems like he's just like, I don't know, it just looks very awkward, right? But he's in a great position, right? And that's why he has the ability to, when he gets that second level, outrun his defenders, right? Now it's not a race, right? So it makes it harder because all they need to do is tackle you. So they need to get a shoestring, whatever. But he's still able to outrun his opponents because of that great position. It starts from the hips, right? So his hips are in neutral position. He's up, down, up tall, right? Locked in. And from here, right here, you couldn't tell that he's a running back. He looks like a sprinter in this position right here, right? Now, obviously, he's not as fast as his world-class sprinters we're used to seeing, but he works the same position, right? So as we go, up tall and he's running. What I like, again, he's up tall, and so that allows him to utilize these four muscle groups that I constantly talk about that are underdeveloped, which are your hips. So again, this position, your hips in this circle area, right? So one by one, your hips right here, your hamstrings right there, glutes, and then lower core, right? So that right there, that maximizes your speed. Obviously, we know you're going to be using your quads to push, right? And glutes aid with that, but your speed really comes from those four muscle groups, right? They allow you to, one, hips allow you to maximize your knee drive, right? Which maximizes your push, but then also helps you with your position, right? Your lower core, that helps you with your position because it lets you stay locked in and really utilize your hips to get that knee drive, right? And then your hamstrings and glutes. Your glutes aid with the initial push with the quad, but then also help with the hamstring to pull, right? So if you're not able to drive your knees or pull your leg back, right, you're essentially going to be running slow, right? To keep it that simple. You don't have to get all fancy with it, right? So what he does at this position is he tries to maximize as much as he can, right? Now, with that position, you're going to run efficiently, right? But as we know, you can only hold that for so long. You can only hold your top end for so long, right? And after that, it becomes work because, like we said, they're not as developed as your quads, right? And anything anaerobic, the more longer you run, the harder it becomes. The longer you do something anaerobic, the harder it becomes, right? So as we go, we look, he has this great tall position, right? And you could tell once he starts to get here, once he hits the ground, you can start to see more braking forces, right? But what I like is he's still trying to maximize. So as he drives, that leg, that shin comes forward. So great up tall heel comes forward. Now sometimes, and I mean a lot of us do this, that shin angle, right? It kind of goes a little forward as he swings forward. So the knee comes forward, the leg comes forward. So when he hits the ground, so let's get this, that shin angle is a little more like that and his torso is up here. So it's not ideally the same, right? We'd want that to be a little more vertical so that when he hits the ground, you'll see once he hits the ground, you get back. Let me stop this right here. And it's hard to stop. All right, so once he gets right here, right, and we probably go back a little further. He's more here and here, and then he can push onto that next step. So instead of, he can move forward. So instead of hitting the ground and having braking force right here, right, he limits that braking force, hits the ground, and gets onto the next step, right? And that's how you maintain your speed, right? So as you run faster, you're going to spend more time in the air, less time on the ground, right? So that means you're producing a lot of force. You're being impactful on the ground. You're using stretch sternum reflex, all right, to absorb and then produce and spend less time on the ground, right? So we're going to fast forward again. We're going to go into a more up close look, right? So right here, this is a great position. We can see more front side action. Like we said, everything's engaged. He's driving, nice big knee drive, and he's tacking back, right? So like I said before, you could tell once we get here, see how that leg, that shin wants to come forward. If he can tack that more down and slightly back, so if he can get to more of this position, right, when he hits the ground, instead of here with this gap, he have a smaller gap. Now this isn't a bad, right? This isn't a bad gap. So once he hits, but what I do like is that shin angle's up, his body's up, vertical, right? That's what you want, all right? But as we go on, like I said, longer you go, it's efficient, but it's harder to hold, right? So as you go, you can tell, right? Now as he starts to run, how much bigger this gap gets. So let's go right there. Alright, same thing, shin's traveling forward. Let's get one on the ground. Right there. Come on. Right there. Alright, so now he has a bigger gap. So you notice how this gap is a lot bigger now. He's hit the ground. So that means he's really breaking on the ground and he's losing speed. But he's a strong dude. He's already created enough separation to where it really doesn't matter. He can run like a duck at this point and he'd still get a touchdown, right? So it starts with creating that separation and then trying to hold and maintain, right? But if he can clean that up, he'll be able to, instead of reaching out and having that shin come forward like it is right now, let me get that red. If he can have it come back down more like that, he'll have a smaller gap, which means less braking forces and means more transfer and carryover of speed. All right, and this is the part right here, right, where it makes him kind of look awkward. Where it looks so awkward when he runs is because he's so up tall. He has a great position with his upper body, and he's a big dude that it makes it seem like he's like favoring almost when he's running, right? But he's just maximizing those muscle groups, maximizing his position, and so the longer he goes, it's going to be awkward because it's hard, right? Anybody that's known and has run long distances, long sprints, know that like after a certain point, your body is like, yo, like relax, like chill it down, but you're trying to maintain, and that's the hardest part. So if he can work on that, his shin angle tacking back down, with everything else that he does right, he's gonna have way more of these runs, and it won't be even close where someone's catching, right? So this is my breakdown of Derick Henry. If you like it, comment below, give a thumbs up or a like, comment who you want to see next, things you like about this video, things you didn't like, all right? And don't forget to subscribe.